This is a channeled message from the angels about how we will grow without karma. So welcome back, you guys. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I am Ann Tucker. I am a channel. I channel from the angelic realm. And I do that by raising my awareness as high as I can go. And I go a little higher. I connect and the messages start to come through and I transcribe them. And I share them here with you guys on YouTube. And today's message is addressing something the angels have been telling us for a while, which is that as we move forward with our awakening, the new world, the new reality we're going to be living in is not going to be governed by karma, which is amazing news, except then how do we keep on growing? So here is where they address that. So if you would like to hear more messages like this one, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you will be notified every Friday when I upload another message. So thanks a lot, and here's the video. All right, so it is Friday. We are in February 11th, 2/11, and coming up soon is that date we're all looking at, 2/22/2022 is coming. The date of the Pluto return, which a lot of us have been looking at to see what is going to happen. And it's been on my mind a lot as well. And one of the things that kind of blew my mind just this past week is, so you guys know that I channel from the angels, that they told us that there was going to be, like they saw a division. And it's really like the kind of stuff they've been talking about is really a revolution, like a civil war in the United States, like a separation between North and really it's along political lines. And, you know, on ideological lines. And hey, you guys, great to see you joining in. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Rebecca. Great to see you. But yeah, so they've been talking about and there was layers to this, right? If you go back and listen to all the channelings and kind of piece them all together, you know, they talked early on, before it made any sense at all. They talked about the truck drivers abandoning their routes. And then they talked about people picking up, you know, rocks and throwing them. And there's a lot in there, and spread out among various messages that we've gotten. So, but there's clearly this message that the United States is going to lose its power in the world, as they called it, their political hegemony, which is like our influence on other countries, our influence in the world. So the United States comes out of this process without the same influence that it currently has had. And so anyways, when I first heard this and the angels were starting to talk about it, you know, really was it more than a year ago, 2 years ago? I thought, oh my gosh, this is like totally far-fetched. How could this happen? It just didn't really enter my mind as a possibility. So I just thought it was so strange. It was hard to talk about because I felt like it was so unreal. And what blew my mind is that this past week, I saw that there have been articles in the New York Times about an American Civil War. There have been multiple pundits talking about the potential for civil war, and not in a light way, saying that we are really the United States. And here's what was interesting. So Ray Dalio, who some people follow and some people don't, but he is a guy who runs a hedge fund. So he's a data person. And what makes that interesting to me is that he makes decisions based on data. And he is coming out saying that based on his data, based on his research of looking at things, he thinks the United States fits the profile for civil war. And what everybody is saying is that, you know, all the pundits, including the New York Times, nobody wants to say that we're going to have, you know, people fighting physically. So everybody kind of softens it and says, no, it's going to be an ideological civil war where we're going to have people just not following the rules. Like we're supposed to have agreed upon rules about our elections. And then people are just going to say, nope, we're not going to follow those rules. And the agreement of following the rules is what the whole thing that makes a government work, right? If people sort of opt out and say, nah, I'm not going to listen, you know, this sort of collection of states are bound together by our agreement to follow the rules. And if we don't, then it doesn't work anymore. So that is what the pundits are saying. That is what the New York Times is saying. They're saying, okay, and the things that are the reason why they are saying that we're close to a civil war. And the reason I think this is so interesting is that we heard it when this was energy, right? When we heard it, this was energy that could potentially unfold and manifest on the planet, that there was not signs at that time that this was coming. Now there are signs, right? Signs that are visible to the New York Times, right? To people like Ray Dalio who are watching data. And what they're seeing is that and his thing, he says that he's got like this, and he wrote a book on it apparently, that there are sort of 6 stages that lead to civil war, and he says the United States is at stage 5. And it has to do with when you have, a lot of income inequality between people, and then when when that's all fine. Inequality is fine as long as the economy is prospering and everybody is moving up. Then people don't mind it as much because everyone has the sensation of doing better. But when things get hard, like we are in right now, where we have 7% inflation and we have an enormous amount of debt for the country, and and we have all the economic repercussions of the virus. So when things are hard, then all of a sudden people no longer feel okay about the income, the inequality, and it's not just income inequality, right? We have inequality in a bunch of different ways in our country. So that is a prime factor, right? So there was the wealth gap. There's also the values gap, is what he talked about, and that we have for sure with the polarization that we're experiencing in our country is huge. So, and that's on so many fronts. So, and it was interesting to see all these different pundits talking about what they thought the big issue was that would spark a civil war. And some people thought it was going to be abortion and the right to choose. Some people think it's going to be, and to me, the thing that is jumping up and down as a possibility is the trucker convoy in Canada. And the angels said the truck drivers will abandon their routes, which they have, and they've done that with all of the, in terms of our shortages and what's happened in terms of supply chain. But many of you may have heard that the Department of Homeland Security has said that there is the potential for a U.S. trucker convoy to come up at the Super Bowl. And there's been chatter on this on Twitter and other places. There's been discussion that there could be a U.S. trucker convoy that would start at the Super Bowl to disrupt the Super Bowl that could potentially go across the United States, ending up in Washington, D.C., there in time for the State of the Union, to disrupt Joe Biden's State of the Union address. So, and boy, could there be energy around behind that, because look at, like, the people who might organize that might look at what's happened in Canada and say, wow, they had so much traction and so much, so much traction with what happened in Canada that could be very inspiring for people who wanted to organize the same here in the United States. So I'm just looking at all these things saying, and you're right, some of you are saying it is feeling so close. Yes, it is feeling so close. So I don't know how it's going to unfold. I'm just telling you, what's available out there in the world. I was, like I said, mind blown to see exactly what they talked about, which was this idea of what I thought was unfathomable, which I couldn't imagine. And then here it's supported in the astrology, which also blew my mind. And then here it is where then now the signs of it are visible in our mainstream press, right? Where people are, who knew, the top of, the New York Times is talking about American Civil War. So, okay, just had to share that with you guys, because that, to me, that brings a heaviness, a little bit of heaviness for me. And I feel that is like, it just feels a seriousness to it. It's one thing when we're talking about this stuff that might happen and could happen, is on the horizon, it's further out, but when we start getting close, you feel the gravity. I don't know if you guys feel that. I feel the gravity of it. You're saying, good morning, and I pray the angels also see the light coming. I am feeling so unsettled around all this, especially because I don't think most people see the terrible possibilities. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yes, you're speaking my mind, that I feel the heaviness of it. I really do. And I think, that we have to focus on the light, and we have to focus on the good. And that is the message for today, mercifully. The message from the angels today is really lovely and light. So they always know our minds, don't they? They know what we need. So you're saying, whoa, yeah, I know, I feel that way too. And you're also saying there has also been talk about the Super Bowl being a flashpoint years ago. Oh, wow, is that right? Ooh, I would be interested in hearing that. You're saying I have felt on high alert for weeks. Yeah. So, okay, so today's message from the angels is talking about, they have been telling us that when we make this shift, we go through this awakening, we go through this shift to this higher vibration, that we won't be having the same experience of karma, that our lives are not going to be governed by karma. But this has always been the earth school, that we come here to grow and to learn and to become a brighter, lighter soul. And so how does that work if we don't have karma? Like, karma has been the way we've done it up until now. So is this still a school? Like, does this become like the Bahamas? Is this just like where you go to have like a really lovely time? Like, what is Earth after that? Is this still a school? So here is where they're talking about that. So I think a very, very cool message. And something I think we could all use is thinking about the good things to come. All right, so here we go. They say, we are opening through time an avenue for your development, a freeway by which you can bypass what has been historically offered for your transformation. The freeway of which we speak is made up of an energetic construct, a lessening of your obligation to what has formed this life's causalities, what has made your journey of complexity, an opening in between, the chance to eliminate some or all of these happenings, the difficulties you would release. This pathway of which we speak is now beginning. It starts happening. There is an avenue to it. Your awakening, your pathway becomes clear. The entrance just beyond where you dwell, where you are limited. So first paragraph, very, very cool. They are talking here specifically about this idea of living without karma, of what is life on earth like without karma. And they're saying that up until now, so they're opening up, like they're calling it a freeway, which I love because it's like, this is like, a way to, like an expressway. How do you get through life without all the friction and the difficulty that we experience in a karmic construct? And they're saying lessening our obligation to what has formed this life's causalities. So we come into this life, our karma is like an obligation to have certain experiences that we pick before we get here, but we create our own obligation, we create our own karma, and those obligations can be things that we experience that are hardships that help us to have the growth that we plan for. They can also be ways that we're meant to serve or things that we're meant to do to help others. Those are also parts of our karma. So they are also obligations that we come with the intent to do these things. So they're saying, and these create this life's causalities, one thing that causes another. And they said, what has made your journey of complexity, which it is, right? Being on Earth in the karmic school is when you're here and you can't always see what's coming and you're trying your best to navigate some crazy stuff. And when you get locked in these karmic patterns, like talk about like the most complex, it's like the worst escape room ever. Like, how do I get free of this crazy thing that keeps happening, right? So, yeah. So that's what they're saying is this journey of complexity and opening in between, the chance to eliminate some or all of these happenings. So it could be like, as we're going through this, maybe there's some areas where you're ready to release karma and some not. So that's an interesting idea. It may not be an all or nothing. It may be a thing where you say, oh, okay, in these areas, I can be free, but in this area, I'm going to keep this karmic construct in place because there's still benefit. There's also saying these are the difficulties you would release. This pathway of which we speak is now beginning. So in other words, there's ways we can move into this energy right now, which is super cool. It starts happening. There is an avenue to it. So we just have to get there. So it's starting to become available. It's happening now, but we just have to get to it. Your awakening, your pathway becomes clear. The entrance just beyond where you dwell, where you are limited. So it's past those limitations. It's really about our awakening, about opening to this possibility. It's really, everything is always about our readiness, right? It always is. All right, next paragraph. They say, your opening mind, it halves, cuts in half, halves, your opening mind, it halves the reality of this time into two measures, that which you understand and comprehend, and that which you do not. You feel your way through these openings, having only understanding of some things and leaving to serendipity that which befalls your choices. This current understanding allows yourselves the freedom of self-direction, while imposing the limits to your freedom that will entertain your being and bringing you forward. Those conundrums and difficulties, the surprises you offered yourself, the planning of moments, serendipity as you would feel. But these absences of mind permit within your field the chance to operate on earth as divinely planned, to control and be led simultaneously. So that, I think, is in a word, to control and be led simultaneously, where we have the feeling, the sense, and the reality of free choice, while at the same time staying within the boundaries that we set for ourselves before we got here to create the karma and the constriction that's going to move us in a pre-planned direction. So here they're talking about how does that work? Like, what is this karmic experience like right now? And they're going to show us this, and then they're going to try to show us what it's like without the karma. And they're saying, okay, right now we have, I love how they say, your opening mind halves this reality into things we understand and things we don't. So we kind of move through time with half the knowledge, half an understanding, that we control some things, but not all things. And they say we feel our way. We're using all of our instrumentation, right? Our bodies, our awareness, our intuition, everything to navigate around the things we don't know. And that gives us the feeling of self-direction where, yes, we are making choices, but then there's these bombshells that we're trying to avoid, which are our karma as we're going through it. And navigating that becomes the journey, right? That's the Earth School. So, and so this gives us self-direction while imposing the limits to our freedom that will entertain your being and bringing you forward. So it's all designed to help us grow. All of it is, but still having free will. Because everything, even growth, we have to have the opportunity to make the choice to grow. It's always a choice, right? Nothing is you can't ever be put into a situation where you are forced. You could be forced to face something. It could be right there in your face, and you could be like, la, 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 you know what I mean? Like, totally tune it out. So, like they say all those things, you can lead a camel to water, but you can't make it drink. And that is the truth. So we always have choice, even in the face of our karma. So, all right, so they go on in the same paragraph. They're talking about, those conundrums, difficulties, the surprises you offered yourself. So all the things we chose to experience. So planning moments. And do we ever plan our moments before we get here, right? We literally script the important moments of our life. We script out to the nth degree before we get here. And we've talked about that a few times together. But these absences of mind, so the places we don't know what's going to happen, they give us the chance to operate on earth as divinely planned. So it's in those places we don't know that sort of our divine plan steps in to allow us to control and be led simultaneously. So beautifully said. So now how is it going to be different? That's what it's been. What will it be? So going forward, they say, this planning heretofore has been the pathway forward. This is how it has been. But now we offer a new opening in which you are surrounding the transition of self, in which you are sounding the transition of self for your own being, where your awakening is more complete, your understanding more ready. You can feel your being and understand its meaning and feel your prosperous pathway. More attuned to your being, this way informs yourself of other avenues, of new directions, of methods of growth and learning that do not involve the difficult choices. So this is a switch. They're saying that on this new pathway, this non-karmic, and this is, I think, they said that this is available to us now, that we have the opportunity to move into this, that rather than having the blinders on, it's like we have a much greater ability to tap into, and I think they're talking here about body wisdom, about our intuitive understanding, about seeing our pathway through more clearly so that we can choose the path of least resistance. And so this is right that we can choose new directions and methods of growth and learning that do not involve difficult choices. So in other words, we don't have to suffer in order to grow. And I actually don't think we were ever meant to suffer on the earth plane. Like, suffering is not necessarily something that needs to happen. It really isn't. I don't think that was part of the original plan. I think we're perfectly capable of coming here and choosing things that put us in situations that help us, that inspire us to move forward. Think of in your work. Have you ever worked in a context where you had either a good boss or you had a bad boss? And when you have a bad boss, you're doing the work because you have, you don't want to lose your job, or you don't want them to get angry, or you're trying to, you're trying to avoid whatever their negative behaviors are, right? And that's sort of working under the fear of repercussion, or the fear of consequences. And then you have the good boss, where it's like, wow, they have this amazing understanding of what your abilities are, and you're trying your best to live up to that, right? To be the person they see you as, and that's the good boss. So what they're saying here is that we have been, in the karmic system, we're working for the bad boss. And we have the opportunity now to switch and start working for the good boss. And to start living up to our better selves and becoming our better selves, not because we are faced with pain and terrible things, but because we choose to, right? Because we're given the opportunity and we choose to, which sounds so much better. Okay. Next paragraph. No more blindly will you feel yourself maneuvering. Instead, your field opens to choice made with more certainty. You choose to feel a certain obligation or opportunity to play a role, a part for humanity, and this you do without the peace that has been meaning, your lack of observance, a veil to your understanding. Sorry, and I didn't actually go back, and I can see my translator messed up on some of these words, and I remember channeling that, and it didn't print out here correctly. So some of the wording is a little bit off. I needed to go back and correct this, and I didn't, because my dictation software doesn't always get it right. So, but what they're saying here in this paragraph is that we won't be working or moving in the dark anymore, that we won't be moving blindly anymore, that we will be able to choose our path. So for example, we could imagine where you don't have karma, but you're faced with a situation where you see someone who needs something, and you have the ability to provide it, even though it would create a lot of work for you and it might be difficult. And there is some chance you might succeed and some chance you might fail. And in a non-karmic construct, you might choose that as an opportunity for your own growth, right? And that's really, really different than being put in a situation that you don't control, where you're being forced to work through issues that you can't see within yourself. Right? So you might see within yourself, oh, hey, I have difficulty with this particular issue. And if I help this person, it's going to help me to step into that and to be that thing I'm afraid of. So maybe you have fear of being seen, that you feel like you're afraid to share your gifts. So you might choose to move into a position where you're sharing your gifts, where you're doing it even though it scares you, because it's going to help you work through it and see how positive and lovely that feels. And just as challenging, but it's your choice, right? Totally different world. And you're saying, such good news to be seen, heard, and believed. Yes, such good news to be, and AKA good boss, right? Yeah, exactly. All right, so next paragraph. You were in the dark. Now you'll be able to perceive for yourself and navigate more freely. Your vision holds all directions and understanding. Your body feels the wisdom of choices made through understanding these passages in time. Your living and being becomes a lesson in itself, fabricated through joyful experience and pleasantry. Totally different from what we've been living, and beautiful. Really, really beautiful to look forward to. And I think that passage kind of speaks for itself. Next paragraph, they say, no longer needed is the harsh, cruel world of karmic blossoming, now replaced with a more complex understanding where you can feel your growth nearing, where you understand how you are becoming and what is needed to improve your comprehension, how to grow, how to feel, what to move, how to deal with your internal resistance. These complexities no more left to the circumstantial arrival of incidents. Instead, you embrace your ability to perceive. You arrange your life for your own happiness, and joy comes from doing what was perceived difficulty, to moving in the direction of what feels hard and challenging by choice, to feel the pleasure of arriving, to know yourself capable, yes, to choose your opportunity. So this is exactly what I was talking about. And it's really, really exciting. I find this to be like some of the best news we've gotten in a while, like if this is a good life they're describing, a really, really good life. And let's see, you're saying, hi folks, Anna Angel's late, but glad you're here. And you're saying, oh yeah, maybe that was what happened last night for me, Ann. Yes, it was. So Rebecca was our speaker last night, and she totally stepped into it. It was her first time she let her freak flag fly, and you did amazingly well, Rebecca. And thank you so much for sharing it. I know how hard it is to be able to stand up and say, yep, this is who I am. And you did a great job, a really great job. And really, I think it was really helpful to everybody there. So anyways, yeah, so this is that idea of choosing to step into the places where we feel ourselves limited. And here's a piece of that I think is really, really amazing. As those of you who have been contemplating your roles and how you're going to serve and wanting to go, so lots of you want to be, healers or want to be channels, or what is it that you're, or already are serving in those ways, that as we move into this new way, imagine if you are aware you have a limitation. And every healer needs a healer, that we will more than ever be needing each other, that we will be able to say, hey, I've got this thing that's coming up for me. I've got this place of resistance. I kind of want to do this thing, but I have shame, or I feel fearful, or I have this coming up. And then we're going to lean and imagine being in that place of such a positive sense of self and such a positive sense of your own ability to work through things, that you can then work with another person and they help you through it, right? It becomes a thing of this amazing, reciprocity, which is something else we talked about last night with Rebecca. So, okay. So anyways, very, very cool view for how we can be a really much more interwoven, interconnected society, where it's about our growth, where we're choosing, making our choices are based on what's good for me. It's not about like, how can I get ahead, or how can I save for retirement, or how can I get better insurance, or anything like that, right? It's about like, what's good for my soul growth. Like, so cool. Okay. And you're saying we definitely need each other. Yeah, unity for sure. And I think that's where this is going to be. So, okay, next paragraph. This pathway opens, reveals for some who are ready, for yourself, should you arrive to claim it. It is here, just beyond the nearness, just into the next moment. It is a pathway of understanding we are building for yourselves, to let you feel your own proximity to what is happening within, to anchor your woes here, to be left behind, to grow, to loosen the hold of self-doubt and injury, and live more full to your capacity, but no longer bled by circumstances of arrival, what comes. Instead, offering your own mind the perception you are needing to know what comes, to answer your own bedevilment, to solve your own awakening. And when you think of it this way, you become aware this really is not far away. Like, this way of being, this way of living your life is not, we don't need a complete transformation of the world for this to happen. Like, this is right in the next moment. Like, this idea of feeling into our own limitations. And I can tell you, I see this now. Like, I see this happening, like in my own life. I would be aware when things popped up, and I can look and see, okay, look in my own astrology. What are the themes right now? I can see what's popping up in my dreams. I can see when something negative, when I have a negative experience in my life, why is that happening? What is it bringing forward for me? How can I move? How can I find that in my own self? Where is that within my body, within my energy? How can I heal it? How can I move forward from there? You know, and a lot of us are doing this already, still within the karmic construct, because we're still being confronted. So the next step is to take that same process of perceiving that everything is for you, but moving into a more positive thing where we're trying to deliberately step into where our growth areas are. So it's right there. It's just within reach. We're there, right? We're there. All right. Next paragraph. Yes, awareness, it comes. You will feel its passage. This place, this trail, this pathway, it invites you now. It is opening. Feel for it now. Feel your rhythm changing. Feel as your awakening heart senses its own beat. So shall you understand your meaning. You are awakening. We invite you onward. So, yeah, beautiful, beautiful message. Very inspiring, I think. A really big encouragement to help us to continue to think about our own healing. And then beyond to think about our own healing, which has been, for all of us on this path, thinking about our healing has been the conversation for a really long time. But imagine now that we have the opportunity to change that internal dialogue of like, okay, where am I broken and what needs fixing? And instead, changing it to, what is it that will move me forward? What can I step into that will challenge me onward? How can I grow positively? Rather than, where is frustration meeting me in my life right now, and how can I learn from that, right? It's a very different question. What are the opportunities in my life that I can step into where I feel resistance? And that's where we're supposed to move into. And that helps us to move into this new frame of being, this new freeway that they're building for us. They're saying, hey, grow this way. Don't grow through pain, grow through opportunity. Yes, please, right? Yes, please. That sounds amazing. So, and you're saying such a lovely message in these moments. It really is. I really think this is inspiring. So maybe think about in your own life right now, where are there places in your life that you could step into something that you feel resistance to, something that feels scary, something that feels like where you feel like, oh, I could never do that, or that would be hard, or where you feel fear, something you want, but you feel fear or limited in some way. And can you just start it? Can you do it? Can you step into it? And doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And that's kind of a huge point. We're not meant to do it alone. Who can help you? right? Who can help you to deal with the fear? Who can help you materially in some way to get started, right? Who do we lean on, and how do we help each other? So, all right, you guys, very cool message. And I think something really uplifting to help us as we're looking forward into this month. I should also share with you guys, in terms of what we're expecting. You guys know that my house is under construction right now, and we are heading into, some really uncertain times. And so I'm wondering, like, currently my house is like, we're just about to pass our electrical inspection, which means I have no power, no water, no heat in my house. I'm staying with family, which is why I have power and heat. So, but my house is in no means ready for the apocalypse, like the opposite. It is not ready for the apocalypse. So I'm looking at all this and I'm trusting and I'm having faith that things are going to work out. And so I am feeling, this is not coming from the angels, this is coming from my own intuitive channeling. I am feeling like, in terms of bank closures and things like that, I think I'm going to be into my house by April, and I think we will be okay in terms of payment processing and things like that. I think that I'm safe until May. And that's just my own, like I said, that did not come from the angels. That's my own feeling that I am fine until then. And so if that gives you any measure of comfort, I just wanted to share that, because that is that's my own thinking. I am not at all stressed, really, about the fact, other than that, I really would like my house to finish. I want to get it done and move in, but I'm not fearful about the fact that it's the state that it's in right now and the things that might be going on. I think I think we've got time. I think this is going to unfold over this year and beyond. So I think we have time for things to unfold. So I thought I'd share that in case that was helpful. All right, you guys, grateful to spend the day with you. Have a wonderful weekend. Sending you all lots of love. And I will see you next Friday live. Bye-bye.